Well, greetings everyone. It's Mark and Ann. We are back for yet another episode. How you doing today, Ann?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Who we have on the show with us tonight?
Tonight we have Ginger Couch. Ginger is VP of Sales and Marketing with the Benton House Group.
Mm-hmm.
She's been with them, she's been with them for 15 years. But Ginger has got a dual role here. She has been in senior living for a little over 20 years herself, but she's also experienced this with family members where she's had to be caregivers. So she can share a lot from both sides of the table. And then the other thing that I want her to talk about with us a little bit tonight is, we talk about what it's like to have your family, but she's got a workbook called a Confident Caregiver Workbook that's designed for caregivers at home. So she's going to talk with us a little bit about all of that tonight.
Very good. Look forward to it. So let's count this down and get the show going.
Great.
Well, hello, Ginger.
Hey, how are y'all?
Doing good. Welcome to the show.
Well, very good. I'm so glad to be here with you guys.
Glad you joined us.
Have you.
How's your week been so far?
Been busy, very busy, but busy is good. This time of year is always
busy. It's right. People get together for the holidays and go, "Uh-oh, we got a problem here. We got to do something."
Yes, the holidays is the best time in senior living.
Yeah, it is. Depends on the side you look at it, though, what angle you look at it from, right? But yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, Ginger.
So I am Ginger. I am originally from Atlanta area. I have worked for Principal Senior Living Group Benton House for a little bit over 15 years. Like Ann said, I've been on both sides of the world as far as being a caregiver and also being employed in senior living. So lots of resources there that I've been able to grow and share with families as I've worked with them and as I've worked with my teams as well.
Yeah. It's quite the challenge for families because you being on that side of it, when families are, kicking the tires, so to speak, they don't have maybe a pressing moment. They just know we need to make a decision. So they go and check out and try to undo in their mind what they think assisted living or memory care is. And it's just a matter of taking them to the process. And the more siblings that are involved, the more challenging it can be. So it's important that the entire family, that's what we try to do is make sure everybody's involved in part of the process of it all. But yeah, Ann, you're how many years nursing home you've been?
Close to 27 at this point, something like that. Jeez. As a nursing home administrator, I've been in the industry a little over 30 years.
Yeah. So with Ann being from the nursing home and Ginger, you being in the independent assisting and memory care, there's that gap, right? So there's a lot of people automatically think assisted living is a nursing home, and no, it's not. So it's getting people
both. Yeah, I've done both. I've been at an assisted living as an administrator with a memory care. So yeah, you're right. They do. They don't get it.
Yeah,
they don't.
Education process.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, which is what we talk about all the time on this podcast. That's why we want to get this information out because people don't always know. And there is a difference, there's a big difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In the two. So, okay. So I know you've been with Benton House for about 15 years. So tell me a little bit about your background. What other experiences have you had in senior living?
So years ago, my grandmother experienced dementia and lived in actually one of the first assisted livings in Atlanta, Christian City. And so,
wow.
Yeah, nice place.
Wow. Yeah.
So in my teens, I was able to go and volunteer in the activity department, visit with my ladies, read books, paint fingernails. And so as I kind of went through college and finished, that, then I got into senior living. And how did I do that? I became an activity director.
Okay.
And then work my way through. And so having the fun times with the seniors, and then of course working with families on the other side with such a gamut. And then of course my own personal experience with my grandmother and seeing how my mom and her sisters had to, work with my grandmother at home and then decide to move into a community. And then I cared for another family member at home until they passed away. And then my aunt actually lived in one of our senior living communities, our Benton cater. So both sides, like you say,
Yeah.
it's, habitual caregiver is what I call myself. And so I end up doing this, and friends call me and
voluntary or not.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a different experience. You said your aunt was in one of your homes. I had my mom in my nursing home. I don't really advise that, but I had my mom in my nursing home for a little while, and it is. I know Mark, just in our casual conversation off camera, we were saying this, but it is so true. It is so different when it's your own loved one. It doesn't matter how many years you have in this industry. It's different when it's your loved one. I tell people all the time, my mom was in the nursing home, not my nursing home, but my family's in LaGrange, and my mom was in one of the nursing homes in LaGrange for the last 5 months of her life. And I'm thrilled that it was no longer than that she had to be there. But I tell people all the time, I was a horrible family member. I mean, I just did too much, but it's hard. It really is very tough. So, you an activity director.
Empathy for those of us, our empathy level goes way up a notch when we experience it personally, right? So you're, to when a family comes in, you're able to kind of, see when you need to, because when I met with a family one time, and every family has its structure to where you've got the one that does more than the others do. You got the one that sits on the sidelines and tells them what they think they should do. But I could just see it on the daughter's face that was doing the heavy lifting. And that's kind of gets into where properly, the proper role of being a placement advisor, as you say, we call it, is to love on the families, to sit there and just pump the brakes and pause and acknowledge what they're facing as a family, and be able to do things that the other siblings can hear, and just the looks on their face when it comes from when you're saying things, they're going, "You're right," So it's definitely a lot. But you had already touched on, but you've been in the industry 20 years. So what's it been like? Go a little bit further into what it's been like to be growing up at that age in Christian City. Good Lord, that they've been around forever, and they've been through tons of changes. They even have a rehabilitation side to it now, to where they have the rehabilitation, and they have the assisted living memory care side. They've been through lots of changes, as so many, as so many of the assisted living communities have. But what has your experience been like from a personal standpoint?
From a personal standpoint, you really have to find your own journey. And we are here and with the Confident Caregiver Review book that we started really kind of back in 2010. It is about seniors and families' journey. And so how do we meet them where they are? Just like I wanted to be met, where I was when working with my own family, because every family is different and needs different things. And what does that look like for somebody? So that's kind of how the Confident Caregiver came around, so that we could support somebody. So if they're not going to choose a community or other, help, then let's make sure that, you get the help where you are. And if that's at home, great.
There's still resources for people, even if they don't choose. And it's not just a matter of choosing. I think, sometimes, because most assisted livings are private pay. So if everybody doesn't have the money to do private pay, to do that, then, and they don't want to go to a nursing home, there's always the personal care home that's out there. But a lot of people do choose. And I'm telling you, I know just on the nursing home side, I don't know what you're seeing, Ginger, in the assisted living and memory care side of this, but we have seen more and more people, the last few years, that are just choosing to go home. And they want to go home, and who doesn't want to stay home? I mean, who doesn't want to stay home? So is that the Confident Caregiver is really designed for people that are being caregivers at home with their loved one?
Right. So just as you were beginning your caregiving journey with your mom, your dad, whoever it was, you just didn't know what you didn't know. And so the
Yeah.
confident caregiver goes through different challenges: isolation, nutrition, fitness, planning. Senior fraud is the new one that's been added
Mm.
to that. And even looking at the caregiver themselves, how is the caregiver taking care of themselves? So that is so
Mm.
important, because if you're going to take care of somebody else, caregivers need care too. So
Yeah.
it's important. And so this workbook is very easy to do, very easily designed. Our team members can walk families through it and can really, talk about, what is your biggest challenge that you're facing with your loved one? If it's medication management, let's make sure that, you're using all of the tools that we know about, that you might not know about, to really make sure that medication is successful in your own home.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
hospitalizations happen because of medication
Mm.
error. So
Yeah.
making sure families know the best way to, do medications while they're in their home, is so important to help that senior.
Okay. Oh gosh, that's great. That's really interesting to go into that side of it
Right.
with them, to help them with that piece, because there is a lot. I mean, falls at home. I mean, all kind of things that they get hit with, and it's the same thing we go back to every time in talking about all this, is they don't know what they don't know, and
Well,
they don't
Ann,
realize until they're in the middle of it.
yeah, you had said something that I think this kind of stimulates a question and a talking point, to where with Ginger having her personal experiences, caregiving, and then having that workbook, but also working in an assisted living community. And then you're saying, people wanting to stay home, and me peeling back and looking at my mom and dad, and us having to bring mom home with hospice. And I think it really, and Ginger, jump in here, because you see it all the time as well. And then Ann, you're seeing people coming to the nursing home, and yes, everybody wants to stay home, but I've seen the benefits of being able to make that decision of going, it's really better sometimes to move into the proper assisted living community,
Yes.
because social side of that is important. So I've watched my dad go downhill so bad, because he's sitting there staring at mom on hospice with 24/7 care at home, when I tried to get them to let me place them, totally acknowledging these are not easy decisions. These are hard choices, but it's mindset. It's looking at it for what it is, and looking at the pros and cons. This is not a death sentence. This is the opportunity for a new leaf to be turned, to be able to come in. Because Ginger, like you're saying, we see people get in the right environment, with the right activities director, with the right team, with the right care support, with the right nutrition and meals, start thriving. Because when they're at home, and I've seen this too often, when you've got a family that's going, we're going to be running out of money. We need to place them, and help us get them to realize that it's not that bad.
Sure.
And to watch them actually go through the difficult decision and then start thriving, and realizing, man, this is not that bad. Because as you know, there's some incredible communities out there, like fantastic communities.
Sure.
And everybody there is the horror stories out there. We understand and get that. But that's what I wanted to add to hearing you say that. It's true. I'd want to stay home as well. But it comes a point in time to where maybe this is a heavy word, but it is a burden on the children and the family. When we say children, it's the 60-year-olds and younger and older, like me. It's that when you think of kids, like, no, we're there. We're dealing with, 80,
But Mark,
90-year-olds.
most people that are, I would dare say, and Ginger, you see this more than I do now, because I've not been on that side of it at all. But and even in nursing home side, though, a lot of the families are now, the ones placing their loved ones, are older themselves. They're at least in their 50s, and into their 60s. And I mean, I don't disagree with you at all. I can tell you that is what people have said is they want to go home.
Yeah.
But I mean, Ginger, you have to see this on a daily basis. How
Sure.
much better? Heck, we used to try to talk people in the nursing home not to get in a private room because of socialization.
Sure.
Well,
And
I'll say this before Ginger jump. Ginger, I want you to jump in and share your experiences. But the challenge I have is, being an advisor, when I go into a community, I have to go, I'm not here to move in myself. I may look like a senior. I am a senior, but I'm not here for me. So, but yeah, give some of the
Yeah.
most common challenges you're seeing, I guess the resistances that families have and how you see them overcome that.
Right. Sometimes children have made promises to their parents, a promise I'm never going to, move me into a community or move me somewhere. But then you have the working children who are, even raising teenagers, then they're trying to manage their aging parents as well. And so that's a lot, plus maintaining a 40+ hour a week job. And so while our confident caregiver can help give relief while at home and while they try to manage at home, and it does give some great tips so that they can be cared for safely. A lot of times by using this workbook, people can say, oh my gosh, I can get this type of help at assisted living, at memory care, or adult day service, which we also do. So there's options for families. Or let's just try it out, and then if it doesn't work, let's regroup and try something different.
Well, with that said, a respite program, hey, come bring them in on respite and give it a test run, right? So you're not committing to a contract and all the things. Just do a respite. Come in for a week or two and give it a trial run so they get to experience it from that standpoint.
Right. We used to invite people when I was in assisted living. We'd get them to come over and have lunch, and put them at the table with all the ladies or the men or whatever. But with what you were saying, though, Ginger, speak to a little bit about because the thing I think that people don't realize with assisted living, even with memory care, some of the same services that you can get at home, you can still get in assisted living. True?
I mean, yes, you're usually referring to like hospice care, home health care
Right.
services.
Things like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so we love and we welcome those additional services. Those are additional hands. Those are additional eyes. Those are additional folks to bring in joy and love, maybe chaplain with a hospice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so many more resources and help that senior can have living in an assisted living, living in memory care, that can continue their, have a really great journey living with us.
Yeah. I mean, they feel like, I think families, a lot of what I have heard, over the years in my time in assisted living and memory care, and then as well, certainly in the nursing home. And this is a misconception with a nursing home. All nursing homes have a medical director. So do assisted livings. You've got someone medically that is around, but that doesn't mean they can't still see their own physician. They still, especially assisted living, that is so much easier. In assisted living, heck, they can. Now, I don't want to throw this out there and somebody say this to their children that, see, I can have my car, but most of them, they can if they can still drive and are safe. They can even have their vehicle there, but they can see their own physicians. And I feel like people sometimes don't realize that they can, and the things which I have said, when I would tour families and potential residents coming in at the assisted living, I would tell them, we will do your laundry. You're welcome to do your laundry. If you want to do your laundry, come to the dining room. Of course, they've got an assisted. They don't have a full kitchen, but they have enough kitchen and they can have their food in there. The one I was with happened to have full-size refrigerators in the apartments and those kind of things. And I would always talk about those things. And then I would tell them, now, if I were you, I would never cook another meal or wash another load of laundry. But if you really want to, you can wash and stuff. But I don't think they realize some of the advantages. Because let's face it, it's not always easy if someone's on a walker or things like that, for them to wash their own clothes anymore.
Right. Absolutely. No, and really, I think assisted living can kind of take out some of that stress where we still want somebody to remain as independent for as long as possible. But of course, having those supportive services in place for in case of emergency. I've seen it over and over again when I'm so glad that, if somebody did need medical attention, they're in a community versus being at home alone.
Absolutely.
Somebody may not found them for days.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I think it also goes, I think a good little tidbit of observation for anybody that's maybe, trying to decide, do they want to even consider placing their loved one is, I always say, know what you're saying no to. There's no commitment to going on having some tours set up, and just go take a pulse on it, and to get rid of the whole, like you're saying, the guilt of maybe making a promise. So you don't really know what you're promising when you make those promises. You really don't. But I think that, speaking from personal experience, that what I want families to really take on is you quickly sometimes forget just to visit with your parents when you're caretaking. It's always go do this, do that, get this, get that. It's just a lot that you forget to just visit, because sometimes you don't want to go just visit because you've been spending all your time running around doing this, getting that, all that. So these are normal. It's okay to have these emotions, right? It's okay to have these thoughts that you feel guilty about having. But just this past year with my family, what it does to me and my sisters, and just the butting of heads and the differences of views, and watching your parents just slowly go away. That we've said this before on the show, and it's true. Mourning is not just at death. You mourn by everything that happens. You mourn that your dad's never going to drive again. You mourn that your mom's never going to cook a meal again. You mourn seeing them just slowly fading away, and for whatever reason hanging on. So I just, want families to think about that as well. That just get rid of all those thoughts and those heavy, burdensome things, and just start exploring. Reach out to, even if it's not CareQuest, there's tons of advisors. Do not go to one of those big online, places that take your data and register it with God knows everybody, and then your phone's blowing off the hook. That's horrible. Go with a local.
But I think that hurts. I think that does mark what you're, case in point. And everybody knows who we're talking about. We're not going to say it, but regardless, a big group.
It's got mom's name in it.
I do think that does deter people from reaching out, maybe, Ginger, to, someone like your group and your homes, and some of even the smaller homes, even in their area, and things like that, because I don't want all those phone calls. Well, I don't blame you. You're dealing with enough as it is to get bombarded by somebody calling you every day to find out, are you going to tour? Did you go tour? Do you want to go tour? I'm sending you 3 different places, and, all those kind of things. And I think if people would stop and realize that truly, Mark, CareQuest is a placement agency, and Mark and them deal with senior placement. And there are others around that are local.
Fantastic
but reach out to somebody. Talk to somebody that can help you, because they exist. There are lots of people, and we say this every podcast. That's what we're here for, is to get this information out, because you're not by yourself. You're not alone in this. Right. Getting someone like Ginger, you that's involved and can get them into an assisted living and memory care, and walk them through and show them what it's really like.
Absolutely.
But Ginger, kudos to you, because the fact that you've been with Benton that long speaks volumes as the organization, because you know as well as I do, executive directors and marketing directors and activities directors, they're here today and they're off to another community tomorrow. Sometimes it's like you try to build a rapport and a relationship, and boop, they're gone. They're gone somewhere else. There was management change or whatever. But with you being around there for that length of time, that's great.
Very blessed and grateful.
Yeah.
Sure. I think about, real quick before we go, I think about, how you said the daughters, just are tired of being the daughter, just don't have time to be the daughter. I think about couples. When was the last time that, they were able to go on a date together,
Mhm.
especially if somebody's experiencing dementia? And so we're a safe place to come and enjoy an activity as a date night for
Yeah.
couples.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And not
Yeah.
always talking about the same thing, right? Just like,
Yeah. But, I mean, but she's right. I mean, I'm glad you make that point because, people need to realize too, that even if someone's in a memory care, and sometimes you end up with a couple that one's in memory care and one's in assisted living, even those kind of situations. And it's okay because you can still have lunch or dinner together. You can have every meal together if you really want to, but you can still eat together and have those times together and participate in things that the center may be doing as an activity that day. They may have something going on there. I'm sure that your centers all have probably vans and take the residents out, and people get to go out to lunch. And, listen, we had a group that loved to go to Mexican, and there was one little resident in particular that we had to be very careful. And she had to have a virgin margarita, and we had to get to the waiter before she could, yeah. But you're not giving up your life. You are getting to a point where you can really, in your senior years, and maybe as your body has declined a little bit, but you're giving yourself an opportunity to really enjoy life still and still live a little, than being at home where you can't get out, you don't have anybody to take you to lunch, then you have to burden a friend. There's just all kind of pluses to looking at the assisted livings and the memory care.
I'm over here smiling. I couldn't have Kim Poor. She's my advisor that works with me at CareQuest. She's also end of life doula, but she put this up. I love it.
You've seen all the rest come back to CareQuest. We're the best. Kim.
I love you, Kim. But yeah, is there anything else that you would like to add, Ginger, before we go?
Sure. We want to get this workbook into anybody and everybody's hands. The best way to get it is call one of our Benton House communities or go online at bentonhouse.com. Completely free, no pressure, nothing. We just really want to make sure that people have the resources and are staying safe.
And what's the number to reach the community you're at?
So right now I'm at our Noonan location. That one is 770-253-8444. Of course, we're in, Atlanta and in 5 states, but we can direct any phone calls from there.
Sure.
Okay. Very good.
So is it an ebook? Is that what it is? So they can just get it online?
I have an ebook, and I actually have a physical copy that somebody can write, that we can
Oh,
write.
nice. Okay.
Look back, we can adjust and follow up with the families like that with it.
Okay.
So we can physically mail them a nice book.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Ginger,
really nice.
I would love to. How often are you in the Noonan office?
I live in Noonan, so I can be in Noonan anytime.
Okay. Well, I'll have Kim reach out to you as well. We'd love to set up a time to come by. I'd love for you to get to know Kim and see if we can't, work together as well, helping families out. But we greatly appreciate you coming on and joining us on the show. So again, it's Mark and Ann. CareQuest Solution is here to help families navigate the difficult process of making the decision for independent assisted living memory care, but we go further than that, and we make sure families are connected with any resource that they may need, because there's tons of resources out there. I thank God I'm in this industry, because it's been a salvation for me and my family with my mother to have the privilege to pick up the phone even on the weekends and call colleagues. So there's so many resources. We just want to share that with anybody and everybody. You don't have to do this alone. There's a lot of people that are awesome people in this industry, and that's what I'm thankful for about it. So Ginger, thank you so much for joining us. And Ann, as usual, good to see your smiling face. And so until next time, we will catch everybody on the next show.
Ginger, thank you.